hello. It is noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West Coast, and I'm John Bach.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bianca Della Garza. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday. All
right, we start in New York City, and New York City police now consider Frank James a suspect in connection to yesterday's shooting at a Brooklyn subway station. A multi-state manhunt still underway for the 62-year-old. The FBI is also involved now. He was known to the Bureau and was also on a terror watch list after an incident in New Mexico back in 2019. Before the shooting, he also posted racially charged videos on YouTube hinting at violence.
And at least 10 people were shot in yesterday's attack, 5 critically injured. Police say the suspect's gun jammed, which is actually believed to have saved more lives. At the scene, investigators were recovering a backpack containing a handgun, 3 extended magazines, fireworks, an axe, and firecrackers. Now, they also found a key to a U-Haul rented by the suspect, which was located here in Brooklyn yesterday, just about 5 miles away from the station attack. And now also those surveillance cameras that were inside the subway station, we know were all malfunctioning, and that has hampered efforts to track down the suspect, Frank James.
Mike Carter has been following the story since it broke yesterday. He is live now in New York. And Mike, what are you hearing from police about the search for the suspect at this hour?
Well, guys, we do have new information to report regarding that handgun Bianca just mentioned. 9mm handgun. One ATF official now saying that handgun was purchased at a Columbus, Ohio pawn shop back in 2011 by this man, Frank R. James. We're here in Herald Square today. This is the nexus of about 8 subway lines here in New York City, including the 3 subway lines, that the D, N, and R train that were at that 36th Street and 4th Avenue subway stop yesterday. All the subway lines are back open today. Come through here, though. I want to show you this. You mentioned the cameras. The cameras have become a big issue at these subway stations. This is one of them right here. Take a look at it. We talked to officials yesterday, union reps for the MTA. They say they want to see more cameras and they want to see more of this. Police officers here in these subway stations. We have noticed more of a presence of police officers both in Herald Square, Times Square today, the subway stations that we've been in. But this man, Frank R. James, 62-year-old black man with residences both in Wisconsin and Philadelphia. People are starting to dig in to his social media now, seeing recent postings saying, well, some things like, they say the pen is mightier than the sword. I think the bullet is mightier than both. Also some cryptic messages involving bombs. You're also seeing a raccoon meme saying, I like you. I think I will kill you last. Really cryptic stuff. James even calling out New York City Mayor Eric Adams in a recent Facebook post. Take a look.
Eric Adams, what the f***? What are you doing, brother? What's happening with this homeless situation? I got on the E train. Every car, if I'm lying, I'm flying. Every car I went to was loaded with homeless people. And the odor, it was so bad, I couldn't even stand. I had to keep moving from car to car. I almost missed my train.
And guys, we're almost a month removed exactly from another manhunt here in New York City for a homeless serial killer, a man who shot at homeless people, 5 of them in Washington, D.C. and New York City, killing 2 people. That man was later apprehended in the D.C. area. But the manhunt continues here today, John. Right now, investigators, we aren't anywhere closer to finding this man, at least as it's been revealed to the public and us in the media, than we were last night or earlier this morning. So that manhunt's still underway here in New York City, spreading out to parts unknown.
Mike Carter live there with the latest on that manhunt and more on the suspect. Quite eerie. Mike, thank you for that.
Let's get some perspective on this from the minority leader of the New York City Council, Joe Borelli. Great to have you with us, Councilman.
Thank you, John.
Well, let's start with the congressional Democrats from New York. A lot of them did not like the idea of putting more cops inside the MTA. Have you heard from any of them? Are they recanting their previous statements today?
No, it's been Cricket City from the Democrats who represent New York City in Congress, because they know, and I know, and the public knows, that in 2019 and in 2020, they pushed very strongly, even against then Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was right in at least one thing. They pushed back on every effort to put more police officers in our subways and in our transit hubs around the city. They know they did this, and unsurprisingly now they're cowering like cowards, words, really, because they don't want to face the music that most New Yorkers realize that the police and security systems and cameras and all these things combined make New York City's public transit system safer than it is today.
Were you surprised that the camera there, right where all this happened, was not working?
A little bit. You know, there's 435 MTA stations, so there's always going to be problems at some of them. It's just unfortunate that these three cameras aren't working. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I believe in the incompetence of bureaucracy, so I think these cameras were probably out based on an oversight or a malfunctioning equipment. The interesting thing, though, is that, you know, look at the state budget. It just got passed. People have been asking for more security on the subways. People have been asking for barriers and guards to keep people from getting pushed in front of the subways. The governor decided she wasn't going to do any of that, and instead she gave almost $1 billion to the Buffalo Bills.
Interesting. We'll talk about the governor in a second, but I want to focus on the mayor as well. He was on CNN yesterday. Looks like he's recovering from COVID, but here he is talking about the subway shooting.
We know we're going to get crime under control, and the problems we're facing is a problem that is hitting our entire nation right now, and that is why this is a national response. We need a national response to this issue. We're going to continue to do our job, but there is some assistance that's going to be needed in our city, such as empowering ATF, bring in the ATF leader, as the president announced yesterday, making ghost guns illegal.
Ghost guns? And is the ATF really the answer to helping out New York's crime problems?
I mean, no. I mean, let's not forget, this guy was on a FBI watch list. He was part of the national response. He was on the watch list. He went on to post abhorrent things on social media, threatening to kill people, posting images of bombs, and yet the FBI decided that he wasn't someone they should keep tracking. On the flip side, if this guy was caught with that gun just a day earlier, Mayor Eric Adams' own police department actually prosecuting and preventing people who are actually caught with illegal firearms in New York City on transit systems, then we're not doing, no law is going to do anything if we're just going to end it there.
Is this something that Eric Adams could do with the stroke of a pen and executive action, reverse this cash bail stuff, or does it need to go to a vote before the entire city council?
He can't, and actually it's the state legislature, and in fairness, he's 100% right on this. It's people in his own party, including Governor Hochul and the state legislative leaders, that are pushing back on him the most. This is one of those things where he has Republican support completely on.
Yeah, there were a lot of people, I mean, they've been disappointed in what they've seen from Eric Adams the first 100 days because of issues like you just mentioned there. There was some overlap in the Venn diagram where Democrats and Republicans could get along. But now, obviously, a lot of questions about his leadership. Now, let's talk about the governor of New York, the unelected governor, Kathy Hochul. She used the shooting and the press conference yesterday basically to make a campaign speech, and here's part of it.
No more mass shootings. No more disrupting lives. No more creating heartbreak for people just trying to live their lives as normal New Yorkers. It has to end, and it ends now. And we are sick and tired of reading headlines about crime, whether they're mass shootings or the loss of a teenage girl or a 13-year-old. It has to stop.
I mean, she too is right. It has to stop. And we all wish we could wave a magic wand and make this stuff go away, Joe. But, you know, you were talking about these soft on crime policies, and she can say whatever she wants in that environment. But until they start reversing those, nothing's really going to change, is it?
And it was just shocking for me to see her pontificate and politic at that moment. And I thought in my own head, Kathy Hochul should just move out of the way and let the three competent women behind her, the fire commissioner, the deputy mayor, and the police commissioner, all have more time at the microphone, because at least they're telling us important and relevant information. But Kathy Hochul herself, was the one who spearheaded changes to the state budget that just got passed only days earlier. And her plan was to see just how little reform she can get away with in terms of criminal justice and still have the support of the legislative leaders. She made the calculation that it wasn't worth going to war with her own party on things that result in creating a more dangerous environment for New Yorkers. And we all pay the price.
Party and politics above all else for Kathy Hochul. That's what we've seen so far. Joe Borelli, great to see you.
Thanks, John.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.